Listen, I'll start with the big one. I'll start with big boy right here. Um, this feels. I feel like it feels slightly harder, but it's nothing crazy. Abigail, I feel like is slightly more difficult, but nothing crazy. I feel like Abigail's one of those characters where I feel like V Shift does help him deal with Ibuki's mix, but like the way Abigail is and the way he plays, like his buttons are so delayed, it's hard to actually get a V Shift off. So like I feel like overall V Shift definitely helps him a bit more than it does me. You know? So that I feel like I would put in slightly more difficult, right? Oh, yeah, that I would put in probably slightly more difficult. All right, but yeah, I mean, Abigail's always been a terror for Ibuki, but I feel like it is a little bit harder this season because of like the mechanic changes and the way Abigail is. His buttons are just, as I said before, his buttons are just mad delayed that it's hard to precision a V shift to where it actually helps you. But that's just me. But yeah, Alex. Alright, Alex can go up here, bro. This character is annoying. Like, and honestly, I'm not even saying this matchup is bad, right? I'm not even saying this matchup is bad. It's just annoying having to fight him now. You gotta sit down and learn the Alex matchup. You gotta sit down and learn the Alex matchup, bro. We haven't had to do that in like 3 to 4 years now. Maybe season 1, maybe. But we haven't had to do that in 3 to 4 years now. The character, his command grabs are insane. His buffs are mad annoying. Larry is +4 for whatever reason. Like, you have to respect him. And like when he's close up, naturally you want to backdash to beat a command throw. But bro, Lariat crush counters you. This character is just, he's not the best character in the game for sure, but he is annoying. He's obnoxious. He's annoying. When I see Alex on the screen, I'm no longer like, there's a free win. I'm more like, I don't want to fight this character. Blanca, I feel like Ibuki never really beat Blanca outright in neutral. Like, she always beat him by like, well, she never really always beat him. So I feel like it's always been like relatively even. But she never really beat him. Like, if she ever did beat Blanca, it was never by like beating him on the ground. So I feel like his stand medium punch buff is like not really too much of a big deal. For the most part, he stays pretty much the same. Vega, bro, I still I don't know. Vega, it feels relatively the same still. Again, another matchup that I feel like feels pretty much the same. I'm not too familiar with like Vega's changes, probably because he didn't get any huge changes to his character. It's more like a game mechanics type of thing that helps him out, but overall he's the same. Birdie, oh boy, Birdie is not. I mean, I hate Birdie, right? Birdie is cheap, but I'm just not a fan of Birdie. I've never been a fan of Birdie, but I don't think this matchup has changed at all. His crouch fierce change is like non-existent on Ibuki. You're not really using crouch fierce on Ibuki like that anyway, to like beat out hand tires and stuff. Nash, light, sonic scythe through. Oh wait, what are we talking about? We talking about Nash? I can throw Nash in there real quick. We can talk about Nash. Yeah, I don't know. Nash feels the same too. Like, he got a 3-frame, but what do I care, right? What do I care? It was never like, I don't know. I'm not worried about Nash. But he also, like, even though he got a bunch of changes, like, the matchup still feels pretty much the same. Like, the matchup plays out the same way. You know. Alright, Balrog, the same. Let's talk about stupid, aka Chun-Li. Chun-Li actually got a little bit easier. Because you can bait out her anti-airs, it got slightly easier. Not by a lot. Her buttons are still obnoxious. But like, I'm not getting punted. Like, she's not like harassing me with low forward into like heavy legs into Oki. So that's pretty big. And you can actually kind of bait her anti-air, and like Chun-Li's had to be a little bit more on point to deal with your jumps. Yeah, you can bait out with like empty jump. So if you stand at the right range and you bait it out and they do back roundhouse, you can land in Punisher, which is pretty big. Stand light kick having like a very low risk. You know what I'm saying? Stand light kick being very low risk helps a lot. Crouch medium kick being able to like, you know what I'm saying, the buff to her forward medium punch lets crouch medium kick have a little bit more success rate, even though it's not a lot because her buttons are still obnoxious. I think those small little changes do help. Although I do think Chun-Li still wins this. I think it's a little easier to manage. Personally. Cody feels the same. Like against Ibuki, I feel like Cody feels pretty much the same. The overall dynamics of that matchup haven't changed much, and she gets in on other characters that have a better fireball easier than like Cody. Yo, what's up, X Power? How you doing, man? Yeah, but Cody is really good, and he got a lot of good changes. But I feel like those changes don't really affect the matchup with Ibuki too much. So it feels pretty much the same. Like they didn't change his buttons, and I feel like Ibuki actually has good buttons to fight Cody. So I don't think that's anything crazy. Cammy. I don't know, actually. I don't know about Cammy. Can I say what the matchup is in general? Matchup was in general for each character? I could do that. I think just running down the list real quick for you. I think Alex, she won before. I think Abigail, she lost before. Blanca, I think was even. Vega, Vega I actually think was even. Birdie, I think won. I think she beat Nash. I think she beat Balrog, Cody. I think Cammy was even, maybe slightly Cammy favored, and I think Chun-Li was definitely Chun-Li favored. I'll probably tell you what the matchup was before going ahead. But yeah, Cammy this season feels pretty much the same. Cammy still does Cammy things. Ibuki still does Ibuki things. So we both got V shift, and we just, you know what I'm saying, whoever gets started first. Although I do think Cammy probably has a slight advantage in this matchup. If not, it's even. Okay. A little bit of a controversial take. Art's gonna see this and pop a blood vessel. Alright. But I actually do think this matchup is a little harder. Do you think Alex beats her that hard? No, I don't. This matchup is comparatively speaking from last season. So I don't think that the characters that are up here, these aren't bad matchups. These are just matchups that are harder compared to last season. I don't think that it doesn't mean that he wins it. It just means comparatively speaking from last season. But yeah, Art's gonna pop a blood vessel. But I actually think Dhalsim is harder this season for Ibuki. I think that he never really needed stand jab against her. I think the main anti-air he does that gives Ibuki trouble is jump medium punch, canceled into float. No, not back medium punch, just jump medium punch. That's the one. Like, you can't do jump kunai, you can't do normal jump. Like, if you see Ibuki jump, you just stop her with jump medium punch. And like, yo, fitted cap, I see you, bro. I appreciate that tier 1. But yeah, you know, it's but yeah, it's just one of those matches where it's like, I feel like Dhalsim's nerfs, and so that and the added bonus of V-Shift, I think it's a little harder this season. The fact that he got the added bonus of V-Shift, I feel like V-Shift drastically helps Dhalsim a bit more than it does me. Like, Dhalsim never really needed his like V-Trigger like that against Ibuki. So having a solid use for his V-Trigger, actually, I feel like helps him a lot against Ibuki. Like, when I finally get in, I want to mix him, but I can't mix him. I have to consider V-Shift as an option. And when I finally do get in mid-screen, V-Shift is still an option. Against a character like Dhalsim, is just super annoying. I do think this matchup is a little harder this season, personally. Ed feels the same. Ed feels mostly the same. I feel like he didn't get any changes to his neutral. Like, he still can't really deal with B skill that well. Like, her low forward is really good against him. If anything, it got easier for me to punish staying roundhouse at different ranges. Like, I don't know. Nash, Ed, I feel like she beat Ed last season. I think that she still beats him now. So that matchup hasn't really changed too much, I feel. Fang. I feel like Fang didn't really get any changes like that, right? I feel like yeah, I feel like Fang didn't really get too many changes that changed the matchup. She mollywops Ed. Yeah, I don't think that matchup was ever good for Ed. Finesse. I'm sure. I think we're on the same page with that one. I don't think that matchup's ever been good for Ed in any season. Yeah, that's how it is, Fitted Cap. When people see or hear their character, I'm starting to think like something goes off in their head where they just show up like randomly. Like you mentioned Balrog, Brian F there. You mentioned Ed, Finesse is there. Like it's just random. People just know when people talking about their characters. They just show up. Like a sixth sense. But yeah, Fang I think is relatively the same. I think this matchup actually isn't that bad. Like I never thought this matchup was very bad for Fang. I always thought it was like even. I think it's even or maybe slightly Ibuki favored, but I think it's pretty even. Yo, Samto, I see you. Yeah, I have the alerts disabled, but I'll go back and thank everybody again for all the subs. But I appreciate that, Samto. But Falk feels slightly harder. Falk feels a bit more annoying. Yeah, Falk definitely feels a bit more annoying, for sure. There's no question. It's an annoying ass character. What's up, Finwin? How you doing? G? Oh man. So G actually feels easier. I actually think G feels definitely easier. I was about to put him in much easier, but nah. Akuma. Oh, shit. I don't know. It's either easier or the same. I feel like, honestly, to me, it feels kind of a little easier because you have an answer to fireballs, but when they just start normal jumping and you V-shift and they punish you, so I don't know. It still feels the same. He's still a gorilla. He's a real gorilla's gorilla, to be honest. Easier, I think, is Guile. To be honest, some of her good matchups just got easier. Like right off the bat. So before, I think she beat Guile. I think she beat G, and I think both those matchups actually got slightly easier as well. Jury, I think honestly feels exactly the same. I do think she still slightly beats Jury, but I think the matchup still overall feels pretty much the same. Ken got a fireball buff, but I feel like again it's one of those things where it's like if his fireball isn't like reused or something, it's not like a huge change, I feel. Honestly, Ken's walk speed is normally the main issue, but I feel like this matchup was even before. I think it's still even now. I think for the most part it's the same. It still showed the video and the sub notification. Yeah, that's fine, Figure and Dan. I'm okay with that. I'm cool with that. I just don't want it to be like jarring, like show up and you hear the audio and stuff throughout the video and stuff. Speaking of the new kid in town, let's talk about Ryu. Oh, okay. All right. Listen. Boom. I don't think so. Here's the thing, right? And maybe it's just because I have more experience fighting characters like Ryu. But when I play against Ryu with Ibuki, Ryu is a monster now, right? And I feel like honestly, Ryu slightly beat her. Last season and the season before that. If not, it was even. Bro, what? My man, Duality. What is with you and Punk with Trippy Red, bro? Bro, y'all. Anyway, I got some fixation. Do you really want to know my opinions on Trippy Red? Anyway. But yeah, Ryu he hits much harder now, so it's definitely harder. But like for the most part, she's never won like the neutral game with him, right? So Ryu's buffs, like how Ibuki goes about winning this matchup, and it was never about like beating him out in neutral like that. And obviously his neutral buttons got buffed, so like his buttons don't really bother me too much. Like the button, it's more so the V trigger 2 damage. That's probably more of an issue right now. Yeah, it's probably the V trigger damage, like, or his overall damage output that's more of an issue. But him having more damage, I feel like only makes it slightly harder, not like harder like Alex, where like the whole matchup changed. You know, what's this tier list? This isn't really like a tier list. It's more just like comparatively speaking from last season. You know. Yeah, it's just comparatively speaking from last season. Like which matchups feel harder and which ones feel easier. But yeah, I think Ryu has always done relative kind of well against Ibuki. Mm-mm-mm. Kage. Ooh. Kage feels slightly harder, to be honest. I feel like both him and Ibuki got stubby buttons, but the fact that he has better walk speed is kind of annoying. The walk speed buff is pretty annoying. And he's got all sorts of new damage buffs in V trigger that you don't have to worry about. So I don't really like that. What's up, Lucas? Tell us how you doing. But yeah, I think honestly, I don't know who won this matchup before, to be quite honest with you. I think if anything, it was probably even. They're both like explosive characters. I think now it's still pretty even because the core dynamics of the matchup haven't changed like that. But yeah, I think it does feel slightly harder to execute the game plan for sure. Colleen feels the same. Overall, I feel like her nerfs and whatnot, I feel like she just kind of feels the same, you know. Like her V trigger got nerfed. And I actually think Ibuki slightly won this matchup before. But like now I still think she slightly wins, especially with like a little bit of her nerfs and whatnot, but for the most part it still feels like the same. Like she's still a true gorilla's gorilla. Am I making this tier list only for Ibuki, or am I gonna do it for Lucia and Cody? Probably not for Cody, because I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know his matchups too much before compared to now. But I'll probably make it with Lucia. But Karen. So Karen. Karen feels the same. Literally, I feel like nothing about this matchup has changed. Karen is harder? You think so? I don't think Karen is more difficult. I think that it's pretty much the same. To be honest. It feels pretty much the same. The sweep nerf definitely helps a bit, and she has V shift available, which is nice for her. But I feel like it doesn't change too much about the matchup. I feel like you never really needed too many mix-ups to beat Karen. And Ibuki's mix-ups aren't entirely gone. I feel like there's still good points to use them to. So I don't really feel the nerfs on this one. I feel like it feels generally the same to me, to be honest. Especially with Stan. This is one of the matchups where I feel like Ibuki's Stan heavy punch buff comes into play. There's a few matchups like it, like Karen and Cody. Most notably, I feel like her Stan heavy punch buffs come into play, but like against Karen, I feel like it's really useful. Laura feels relatively the same, I think. I feel like both of our characters got hit by V-Shift, and ultimately it just comes down to the matchup playing out the exact same way it did previous seasons, where it's like Whoever gets momentum. They both got kind of relatively stubby buttons, but Ibuki's faster and can approach from the air. And Laura's a gorilla, so she needs like one hit type shit. But other than that, I feel like the matchup still plays out overall the same. I think it was pretty even last season. I think it's still pretty even right now, personally. Yeah, Ibuki can still bait V shifts with her V triggers and still be in like good spots. Like you can get more damage for baiting V triggers and stuff. So I don't think I think V shift does play a huge part in avoiding Ibuki's mix ups, but I do think that she does have pretty good ways to deal with V shift comparatively speaking to a lot of other characters of this archetype that rely on mix ups. So I think she's pretty okay. Manat? Oh, shit. I actually don't know. I actually don't know about Manat. I'll come back to Manat. I'll sleep on that one. How do I feel about V-Shift itself? I like V-Shift. I think it's pretty good. I've used it a lot. It's been used on me a lot. I think it's a great mechanic. I personally like it. It's annoying when I spend a V-Trigger and someone V-Shifts and I guess wrong and I wasted a whole V-Trigger, but you know what I'm saying? That's the life. Should put an I don't know tier. You're right. I should actually. That'd probably be easier here. Question mark. There you go. Throw Manat in that bad boy. I mean, obviously, Dan's gonna go in there too. Alright. Let's see. Seth is much easier. I think that's the first matchup I can call that feels a lot easier. Being able, like, I haven't fully put together, but like the fact that she can punish dive kicks with stand light kick makes it a lot easier to deal with like jumps, I guess. Matchup definitely feels much easier, I feel, at first glance. Same thing with Poison relatively. I feel like Poison feels easier as well, comparatively speaking. I think she beat Poison before. I think it was either even or she lost to Seth before. I actually think she lost to Seth before. I think now this matchup is probably like even or so. But I think Poison is easier for sure. It's only slightly easier, but yeah, I think Poison is easier. I think her not having that awkward crouch medium punch and the heart rate nerf definitely helps a bit. Poison's still really good though. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, Poison's still really good though. Don't get me wrong. But you know, it's definitely a little bit easier now to like manage her. You feel like you still can't cross her up? There are times where I just hit that angle and I know that, like, you know what I'm saying? I know that wouldn't have worked last season. Nah, you know, EX heart rate is still a really good EX move. Don't be mistaken. It's still really good, but it being +1, it's at least a lot easier to manage than before. In the corner, you still can't cross her up, but that's whatever. Yeah, kind of. But at least those like sharp angles where she really shouldn't have been able to anti-air, you can get behind her. It's kind of like what other anti-air they nerf like that, but it's still like really good. I feel like Mika's crouch medium punch is kind of like that, but although I don't know, Poison's crouch medium punch is probably still better than Mika's. Yeah, Birdie and Cammy. Oh yeah, Cammy's, I guess. I feel like Cammy's is probably the closest one to it, because Cammy's back medium punch is still really good. I think the only thing about it is that it trades now. It trades pretty often. Alright, Nikali. Honestly, this matchup, I don't know. Like that. Well, actually, no, I do know it. I think Ibuki won before, but I feel like even now it's still the same. Akali didn't really get any changes. V shift helps me a little bit, but it also helps him deal with her a little bit too. Overall, I feel like that matchup feels the same. Sagat. I want to go with Sagat. I think Sagat is slightly harder. V shift, bro. I don't know what to tell you, bro. But if you're V shifting for Sagat, I don't know. I'm saying I don't know what to tell you. V shift does not help me in any way, but it definitely helps him. Although I feel like the core, you know what I'm saying, how the matchup is played out at its core, I feel like it's you know, the core, the way the matchup plays out at its core, it hasn't changed too much. But him having a faster fireball, him having better movement with knees and stuff, like, you know, it's just his buffs help him a little bit. V shift, the new game mechanics help him a little bit. So it definitely feels like slightly more difficult, although it doesn't feel like anything crazy. But, you know, I feel like this matchup is so weird how it was before. But I've heard Sagat players say that Sagat wins it. Me personally, I always felt Ibuki won it. So I think she won it before. I don't know how good or bad it is now, but it does feel slightly more difficult. I will say that. This matchup, I'm not gonna lie, this matchup does feel slightly harder. For Ibuki, it does feel slightly more difficult. It's pretty annoying. It is a little weird. It's a weird one. Cause like I'm probably the only one that's probably played this matchup at any time recently or ever. I'm one of the few people that have probably ever played this matchup. But I do think her having more damage in a lot of situations definitely helps her. I think her having better pressure on Ibuki definitely helps her. I feel like her having V-Shift helps Lucia more than it does Ibuki. Although stand heavy punch is nice, I feel like if a Lucia player is playing it the right way, they shouldn't be doing anything that's punishable by stand heavy punch, like whiffing stand roundhouse or some shit. So it definitely feels slightly harder. Mika, I don't know actually. This matchup feels slightly easier. Excuse me. This matchup feels a little bit easier. I feel like having V-Shift mid-screen helps a lot. It kind of forces her to normal throw instead of having a looping command throw, especially mid-screen. So I definitely feel like Mika's a little easier. Rashid. Rashid feels relatively the same, I think. But I don't know. Rashid feels relatively the same, I think. I think that again, this is one of those matchups that doesn't play out well, and I mean, plays out relatively the same, and I think, yeah, it's just same matchup generally. I feel. Then the matchup just becomes more nutty when they both have B-Trigger. Yeah, I mean, they're both explosive characters. I'm assuming we're talking about Ibuki versus Lucia again, but they're both pretty explosive characters. Who's gonna knock him out of that wall dive cross up? Yeah, that is true, but I feel like overall you wasn't doing anything in that situation anyway. Whether he did just normal roll or whether he'd hop on the wall and did the medium kick. Who do I think wins, Laura Ibuki? I think it's pretty even. I think that match is pretty even. Sakura. This matchup feels the same for sure. I think this matchup was even before. I think it's even now. I don't see any reason not to think it's even. I think it's one of those like pretty straightforward matchups. Like she has really good speed and normals to keep up with Ibuki. But I have like air approach and I also have my own type of like speed, damage, conversion stuff. It feels pretty even. Neutral feels pretty even. Like Lucia versus Ibuki? No, I think Ibuki does well against Lucia. I don't think it's anything bad or anything. I just think that it's definitely slightly harder this season with the Lucia's buffs. It just feels a little bit more unstable. Don't forget Zeku's #1. Yeah, I will get to Zeku in a second, but Urian feels the same. I think this matchup is even before. It's one of those matchups where I feel like it's even now. Same to me anyway. It feels the same. Damn, man. That's how you feel about Abigail, Benny? Alright. Bison. I actually feel like Bison feels, if anything, a little bit easier. It's weird though. I kind of feel like he feels a little bit easier because of the mainly because of the crouch the crouch light punch nerf and a Ibuki stand heavy punch buff. I feel like you can kind of whiff punish stand heavy punch and badly spaced down forward fierces, although they shouldn't be whiffing them. I feel like you can whiff punish those and you can like hit them at different angles with jumps. I feel like the jump game is a little bit more annoying for him, to be honest. I do think it's like slightly easier. I do think it's a little slightly easier. I think it's one of those matchups. No matter how the matchup spread or character you play, there's just a hatred for any Abigail. Yeah, I mean, we all hate Abigail. Bing. Oh, Zangief actually does feel a little bit easier. I feel like, honestly, I feel like this matchup is still bad. But like, it's crazy how that it feels drastically easier, but it still feels bad, right? Like, that's how bad the matchup was before, I feel. Like, it still feels much easier, but now it feels like manageable. You know? I definitely think that it feels much easier, personally. But yeah, Honda, I feel like goes in the same category. He still feels the same. Is 6'4" instead of 7'3" bad? You know, I never felt it was like 7'3" before. I never felt like it was blatantly 7'3", but like it felt really bad. Like it was like 6'4", but it was like a really difficult 6'4". Now it's just like, now I feel like it's like slightly Geef favored, but that's just how it feels initially to me right now. I'm sure when Geef players find their like go-to answers to V shift, it'll probably feel more difficult or how it was before. But at least like early on, where like you're testing how they react to V shift and whatnot, like they don't fully have the answers yet, or maybe there are none, but they don't fully have the answer to deal with it yet, and you can like, you know what I'm saying, you have more chances, I feel. Also, the nerf to his stand fierce, although very unnecessary, I feel like it does, like, there's situations where I can like do a string and where he would normally do stand fierce, I can just backdash and still be able to whiff punish. Does running a bear grab beat V shift? Probably, but they don't really want to do that, I feel, because if it's not point blank, you can see him and then neutral jump it. You can see him put his arms out and then neutral jump it. I think this matchup is slightly harder. I think with Zeku's buffs and V shift, I feel like Zeku definitely feels a bit more difficult. I feel like he can actually fight her, and like I feel like he's not as reliant on his V trigger as like Ibuki is. So I feel like he kind of plays to the game mechanics a bit more in that a bit better in that regard. And Gil. I mean, Gil feels pretty much the same, to be honest. If anything, he feels like a little easier, but I'm gonna just put him in the same category. But Gil feels pretty much the same. I think she beat Gil before. I think she beats him now. But yeah, Zeku, I feel like it was even now. I think it's probably slightly Zeku favorite now, because I feel like he got pretty good buffs to young Zeku. But yeah, that's how I feel about the matchups this season, comparatively speaking, to last season. How they've changed from the previous season to now. But yeah, that's it. You know, Ibuki, she still feels very good. She still feels like she's in a pretty good place. Am I not playing any games today? I play a little bit earlier. But yeah, Ibuki still feels pretty good today. You think these changes benefits her overall or no? I wouldn't say they benefit her overall, but I wouldn't say they hurt her overall either. I think it leans a bit more to the she gets hurt by the system mechanics. The new changes, but it's not anything that's like really really bad. Like it's not anything that's like crazy. Like she still manages pretty well. But yeah, that's it. You know what I'm saying? Let me know what you guys think. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Still figuring out the whole YouTube thing, but I'm having fun trying some new stuff. I'm probably gonna do this again. Probably with Lucia next time. But you know, let me know what you guys think. And until the next video, peace, guys.